I'm under a time crunch, and I don't have anything quippy to say, so let's just get right into the review. I was out of town when MaXXXine came out, so I wasn't able to go see it, but I was able to go check it out today. In fact, the reason I'm under a time crunch is because I'm heading back out again to go see another movie. So I'm going to try to be very concise. I do have notes, and hopefully that will keep me on track a little bit better than usual. We'll see. So when I saw X, I remember that I enjoyed it. I did not like the character played by Mia Goth. She was super annoying. She was so arrogant, and I didn't feel like she had any real reason to be arrogant and so full of herself, and she thought she was so awesome and great and had all this talent, and she was just meh to me. My favorite character in that movie was the one that was played by Jenna Ortega. If you've seen X, you know that that's kind of like, that's the first movie, but chronologically it's actually the second, because then they went and they did the prequel Pearl, which was about a character in X. I did not go see that because that character was also played by Mia Goth, and Mia Goth, I don't know what it was about her. She was very off-putting to me, and at first I wasn't sure if it was just her, if there was just something about her look that just like, I don't know, rubbed me wrong, or if it was the character she was playing, or if it was just her as an actor slash person. And so I was like, what is it about her that kind of agitates me? I didn't know what it was. And I went and watched a video of her just doing an interview, just pure Mia Goth, no playing a part. And she was so adorable. Because she has this very sweet little tiny voice, and she's English, and I didn't know that at the time. So it was like, okay, it's not her, it's these characters that she's playing. I didn't go see Infinity Pool specifically because of her. Like, I guess her playing roles like that doesn't gel well with me because I intensely dislike her character. Like, intensely dislike her character to the point that I don't even like her acting in there, even though she's a fine actor. All that to say, I did not see Pearl, but I was super interested in MaXXXine because it follows the character from X, and it takes place several years after the events of X, because I think X took place in the 70s. This takes place in the mid 80s. The Night Stalker is on his rampage. There's all this crime, and it's very seedy in LA where she has settled. She's now an established porn star. She wants to make it into mainstream films. One thing I wanted to say right off the bat was I actually do like her character a little bit more in this movie, and I think it's because, in a sense, she's kind of the experience that she went through. I guess the reason why I didn't mind her so much in this one, even though she was a little bit off-putting because she did still have this very big opinion of herself, like she was all that. She wanted to be a star. She was all about being a star. She wanted all this attention. So that kind of, as a person, that's off-putting to me because I'm not crazy about people that are like that. But her character felt a bit more fleshed out because we see more of her vulnerable side. We see that the events that take place in X have profoundly affected her. She is a bit haunted by what went down between her and the character of Pearl, and it's just a constant thing for her. And so she definitely has become more hardened. She knows how to take care of herself. She does not put up with crap from anybody. And there's a scene where it just very explicitly shows that she knows how to defend herself, and she will not just sit down and take it. I like that about her character. I liked also that we saw a bit of her vulnerable side. There's a character in here also that's a really good friend to her, and I liked seeing her emotional attachment to him, especially after something occurs and we see how much this affects her as a person. So that made me feel more drawn to her as a character, for sure. And that is why, of the two movies, I really like MaXXXine much more. I also like the fact that a lot of it takes place on movie sets, and it's all about movie making, which is kind of cool. I mean, the first one was too. X was as well, but that was about making pornos, which I can't really connect with very well. But this one was just, it was so neat to see her going through these different sets. In fact, there is a scene where someone is chasing her and she's running through all these different sets to get away from him. And she goes from one looking area to another. Like she'll go through, I don't know, I can't remember if one place was like a Western looking town, then she goes through like a city, and then she ends up in the Psycho house at one point. So that was really cool. I like that touch. I specifically wrote that down. Running through sets, cool. I like the time frame that this took place in like I said, you know, mid 80s. It's the height of the 80s pretty much. And she is living this life trying to, like I said, push herself into the mainstream movie business. She has friends in the porn industry that she is in contact with, and things start happening to her friends. There is a serial killer that is picking off her friends, and the police are coming around investigating. She's very hesitant to talk to the police because of what happened in the events of X. I do like also that this movie is pretty much, I mean, it is a direct sequel to X, but it ties in very well with X. You could go from X to this and it would feel pretty seamless, except for, of course, you know that there's been the passage of several years, but still it feels like it's very seamlessly woven in. Things that happen in this movie are directly connected with X. So it all ties in. I mentioned that she feels haunted by Pearl. And there is a scene in here, it's demonstrated bit by bit throughout the film, but there is one specific scene where she is having a plaster mold taken of her face, and it starts to really just everything kind of closes in on her, and she does a really good job of portraying her emotional turmoil in that scene. I felt like her acting in here was really good. Her acting, she's a fine actor, but I really did like her acting in here much more because she showed a bit more range beyond just being an egotistical, full of herself type of person. Something I completely forgot to mention, but I had written this down, and that was there was a quote that I liked enough to write it down, and it pertained to some thematic elements of the film. Because this takes place in the mid-80s, there's still that sort of satanic panic type of mentality that's going on, people afraid of satanic stuff in entertainment and how it's going to affect the kids and that sort of stuff. And one of the characters in here made a comment about that, and I wrote it down to the best of my ability. It might not be exactly word for word, but it was something along the lines of, people can protest all they like, but if they looked in the mirror, they'd see we all have demons staring back at us. And I thought that was pretty interesting and something that I appreciated to the point that I wanted to specifically mention it. Okay, back to the video. So yeah, this one definitely takes top spot for me. I'm glad that I went to go check it out. And though I'm still not super crazy about her character, I do like her character a little bit more. I liked how the story was constructed. I felt like the pacing was pretty good. There was a really solid supporting cast. Kevin Bacon, Giancarlo Esposito, Michelle Monaghan, is that how you say her last name? And then also the guy who played in Ezra. I can't remember his name now. I just felt like everything worked pretty well. There were only 2 cons that I wrote down. They're kind of minor, maybe sort of. There's a scene where stuff is going down. Cops are aware that there's a possibility of stuff going down, yet it takes them freaking forever to actually show up and be of assistance, like a couple of detectives. And of course, that's done for purposes of, you know, the drama of the scene and all of that stuff, so they could, you know, come in at the right perfect moment. But it felt like it's taking a bit too long. They really should have shown up by now. That's minor, like I said. Then there's another thing that happened that it was a bit difficult to suspend my disbelief. There's a scene where a character is about to do something pretty violent to someone, and I'm going to try to be really vague to avoid spoilers, but there's a helicopter hovering overhead, seeing what's getting ready to happen, telling the person to not do this, to stop, it's over, but the person proceeds to do it anyway, and then later on, there are really no real legal ramifications or any sort of public type of ramification against this person for what they did. I mean, I'm not saying that what they did was necessarily wrong. I'm just saying it felt like that whole thing, the person's part in this event, was kind of glossed over in a sense. And I'm not sure, I mean, obviously it was intentional for purposes of the movie, but I'm not sure how much of that ties into the whole idea of the 80s. And you know, American Psycho, how nobody noticed he was killing all these people because it's the 80s, everything was big and everyone was just real concerned about themselves and nobody really cared. I wondered if that was the reasoning behind the approach to that event. I'm not sure. Because I'm keeping it vague, you guys may have no idea what the heck I'm trying to say, but that part just didn't feel like, it seemed like there should have been some sort of acknowledgement that there was a potential legal problem because of this, or it had all been just kind of completely done away with because of the situation, because of the circumstances. So that was just like, I don't know about that. But it's really not that big of a deal, honestly. I did enjoy this film quite a lot. I think if you liked X, if you like Pearl, if you really like Mia Goth in these roles, you will probably enjoy MaXXXine. I certainly did, and I was very happy about that. Not that I didn't like X, but I like this more. So just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about that, and now I need to go ahead and wrap this up because I've got to leave pretty soon for my next movie. All right, you guys. Adios.